Thank you, President. My adjournment matter is for the Health Minister. The Liberal Democrats have been calling for an end to COVID restrictions and a commitment to a day of freedom. It appears that the New South Wales Government has taken our advice and announced a day of freedom. However, the Liberals appear to think that freedom is when you're still subject to mask requirements and gathering limits, and when businesses and events are still required to adhere to density limits and attendance caps. According to the Liberal Party, you're only allowed to be free once 70% of people are vaccinated, and you're only allowed to be free if you're one of those 70%. In New South Wales, liberty will be subject to compliance. Perhaps when Gladys came across the line, freedom is slavery, she thought she was reading from a manual instead of a dystopian Orwell novel. It's ironic that federally, the Liberal Party have only just passed legislation to try and ban the Liberal Democrats from using the word liberal in our party name. The truth is that the Liberal Party has no idea what liberty is. When the Liberal Democrats call for a day of freedom, we don't mean living in a slightly less lockdown on the basis of compliance with vaccination targets. We mean putting the COVID nightmare behind us. No more health directions, no more lockdowns, no more control. The only nice thing I can say about Gladys' version of Freedom Day is it's still better than Daniel Andrews' one. But that's not saying much. Andrews has not made any commitment or assurance that Victorians will be set free anytime soon. Instead, we've had wishy-washy statements that avoid committing to anything, even when we've reached 70% vaccination targets. We know these vaccines won't produce herd immunity. They primarily protect the people who get them. These targets of 70% or 80% have no basis in science. They've been plucked from somewhere by someone, but they have no real value. It's time the government recognised that everyone who wants to protect themselves from COVID will have had the means and option to do so. If people decide to refuse that protection and to accept that risk, then we should respect that decision. It's time to get back to living our lives in liberty. The action I seek from the Minister is to abandon the 70% target and set a date for a real Freedom Day. We need to ditch the rate and set a date.